Hi, my name is Owen, and today I'm talking about the 1985 Senate hearings involving the Parents Music Resource Center, also known as the PMRC, and how they led to the parent advisory warning labels that we see on music today. I chose this topic because music means a lot to me as an art form, and I think it's interesting how the government and society tried to regulate it. I'm a huge fan of 1980s rock in particular, and I always grew up around that music, so this topic meant a lot to me personally. The PMRC, or the Parents Music Resource Center, was founded in 1985 by a group of politically connected parents, including former First Lady or former Second Lady Tipper Gore. Their goal was to address what they saw as explicit and inappropriate content in popular music, especially including lyrics involving sex, violence, drugs, and the occult. They first created a list called the Filthy 15, which included songs that they believed were especially offensive. Artists on that list included popular songs and artists like Prince, Madonna, and Twisted Sister. On September 19th, 1985, the issue reached a national stage during a U.S. Senate hearing. Several musicians testified to defend their work and argued against censorship. One of the most notable speakers was Dee Snider of Twisted Sister. He argued that his song Under the Blade was completely misinterpreted by the PMRC and that the labeling system was not based on subjective opinions, not facts.
You're falling in the alleyway, you know you're all alone. You know it's gonna end this way, the chill goes through the bone. Now here it comes, that twisting light, it goes into your side. Blackness comes tonight, blade is gonna ride, 'cause you're under the blade. Oh, you're under the blade.
Other major artists include Frank Zappa and John Denver, as they also testified. Zappa strongly criticized the PMRC, calling their efforts a form of censorship that threatened artistic freedom and the First Amendment.
Removed from reality or too offensive to anyone if you could follow the general guidelines, right, wrong, or indifferent that are now in place with regard to the movie industry.
Well, I would object to that. I think that, first of all, I believe it was you who asked the question of Mrs. Gore whether there was any other indication on the album as to the contents. And I would say that a buzzsaw blade between a guy's legs on the album cover is a good indication that it's not for little Johnny. And
the situation directly connects to the First Amendment, which protects freedom of speech. While the government cannot outright censor music, the PMRC pushed for warning labels to inform consumers. The legal question was more of, does labeling music count as censorship, or is it simply providing information? A lot of critics argued that even voluntary labels could pressure artists and record companies to self-censor and then would lead to poor sales. Supporters claimed that the labels helped parents to make informed decisions without banning the music outright. In the end, the result was a compromise. Instead of government-enforced censorship, the music industry agreed to adopt a voluntary label system. So this led to the creation of the Parental Advisory Explicit Content label, which is still used on music today. Which it wasn't a law, the label had a real consequence. Some stores refused to sell labeled albums, and some artists actually became more popular because of the controversy. And this topic is still relevant today. We continue to debate about the content regulation in music, movies, and on social media. The PMRC hearing showed how cultural concern can influence policy on a grand level. Even without formal laws, they also highlight the tension between protecting audiences and preserving artistic freedom. And in many ways, this moment set the foundation of how we handle controversial content and entertainment today. And just to wrap it up here, the PMRC hearings were a turning point in entertainment law. They didn't result in direct censorship for these artists, but they created a system that still shapes the music industry today. And it's really interesting to study and see where government and music intersects and what that means for the First Amendment and free speech. So thank you for watching my video, and have a good night.
But why is it unfair? I mean, it's accurate, isn't it? I mean,
well, I don't know whether it is accurate because they sometimes have trouble deciding how a film gets to be an X or an R or whatever, and you have two problems. One is the quantity of material, 325 films per year versus 25,000 4-minute songs per year, okay? You also have the problem that an album is a compilation of different types of cuts. If one song on the album is sexually explicit and all the rest of it sounds like Pat Boone, what do you get on the album? How are you going to rate it? You know, there are little technical difficulties here. And also you have the problem of having somebody in the position of deciding what's good, what's bad, what's talking about the devil, what's too violent, and and the rest of that stuff. But the point that I've made before is that when you rate the album, you're rating the individual because he takes personal responsibility for the music. And in the movies, the actors who are performing in the movie, it doesn't hurt them.